Can
Oh,
you guess in my little test? Can you guess what my bestest Tarantino flick is?
okay.
Once Upon a
Okay,
Time in Hollywood.
yeah, that was what I was gonna go
That's
for.
number two.
Okay, then number one is gonna
Okay.
be the Hateful Eight.
No,
Really?
really.
Good
It's
lord.
just
Because
Okay.
okay,
I,
because I look at it
I,
like I look at the early ones like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction are way too popular to be your favorite films. Your favorite
Yeah,
for
not stylized enough.
yeah. I would think Jackie Brown possibly because it sort of goes back to the 70s.
Yeah.
And then after Jackie Brown, I can't think
You've
of
got
the.
like Django Unchained, which I don't think
I don't
I've
think it
heard
would
you
be
talk about really.
no.
Death Proof. I don't think it would be Death Proof. Um,
You,
okay.
you you have mentioned it already, so you're pretty good. Yeah,
Then
you
I,
know
I would go
out of
with
the ones I've
Jackie
mentioned,
Brown.
I'm gonna go with Jackie Brown. I'm gonna say
yeah,
Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown. I rewatched it again because it was on, and I just thought, yes, yeah, I could just. That's one of those films you could put on and I could watch again. And I think everybody in it plays absolutely brilliant, and especially Robert De Niro,
Oh yeah, yeah.
where when and when he goes, and I'm not kidding, Melanie would drive me nuts. Oh, where have you parked? Where have you parked? Now you don't even
Well,
know where you parked.
The Bridget Fonda character.
Yeah. You
Yes.
don't know. You don't even know where you parked. You don't know where you are. Oh, what a bunch of! And he just goes,
I just
shut up, shut up.
I just remember a friend of mine. I mean, we've interviewed him on the show, Yatish. He just remembers let's put the final line that Robert De Niro hears in Jackie Brown. It's just Lewis, what happened to you, man? Your
Yeah,
ass used to be beautiful.
I think that's Samuel L. Jackson's.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's his.
Odell
That's
says
his
the line.
Odell,
Yeah,
and he is a great character, isn't he? Odell is just like,
yeah.
oh.
AK-47. When you absolutely have to kill every mother in the room, except no substitutes.
Yeah, great movie.
All right, cool. Anyway, welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that has finally watched the Snyder cut. I was going around to watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, but as you can see, we decided to talk about anything else but that right now. Anyway, because I think this is something. Okay, so my name is Tosin. I am the host, and I am based up in Worcestershire, in a place called Bromsgrove. Joining me on the Isle of Wight, as always, are Sharon
Hello.
and Sean.
Hiya.
Now we have just finished doing a film quiz, which was where Sean shows up on a Zoom call with pictures behind him from films, and you have to name all the actors and name it. So essentially, go to our Facebook, go to our YouTube channel. You will see these things. You will see them, and let's see whether you can play along. Because today, Sharon and I failed. We were not able to figure out. Well, we figured out who the actors were, but we couldn't figure out what the film was. And if you can figure out what the film is without checking it up online or without waiting for Sean to tell you, I mean, the truth is we will never know. But if you can do that, you will have our respect, and you probably should come and be friends with Sean because you and him could talk about a lot of things together. Now, this week, Sean, we have a couple of things on our agenda. We have got
Mhm.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, which
Yes,
I have seen. You
and
have seen.
I have seen.
Sharon, you have decided, probably for your own mental health, to stay out of the whole furore that is Zack Snyder's Justice
Yeah.
League.
Well, I haven't seen the original cut, so I can't compare it and go, "Oh, that scene was so much better with slow mo and black and white and
Oh, slow mo.
Well,
sparkly bits flying from the back of their heads." So I haven't really
well,
gone into that.
I've seen the original cut, and I can't do that because I can't really remember the original cut because it's quite forgettable. So what we're going to do this week is, because obviously we know it is the biggest thing in town. I mean, quite frankly, if cinemas were open, this would be the blockbuster. I'll tell Sean, I'll point out to you, and this is something that occurred to me, that this film is such a big deal that nobody's even talking about the fact that it was released a day before the next Marvel Disney Plus TV show was released after WandaVision. So
Ah,
Falcon and Winter Soldier was released the day after Zack Snyder's Justice. No one's talking about that.
no.
It's like no one's. That's how big a deal this thing is, and a large part of it is just. It's not even about the film itself. It's about the story to get this film. It's about how we got here. It's about what happened. So Sharon, do you know about how we got here with the Zack Snyder's Justice League?
No.
Okay, cool. I will tell you then, Sharon. Sean, you
Yeah.
Sean, you have. I'll tell you, Sharon, for the benefit of all the people out there who do not know, the 5 people or so. I mean, Sean has probably seen this told many times all over, like, you know, YouTube and stuff like that, about how come we have a Zack Snyder's Justice League? Why do we have a second version of this film? So, we all know that there was okay. We all know about Marvel. We've been talking about Marvel. Marvel have dominated the last 10 years, and historically, the big, massive, sort of not the enemy, but the rival to Marvel has always been DC. Wouldn't you say, Sean?
Yes, I would definitely. Yeah, yeah.
And
Throughout history, as long as comics have been going.
yes, and it's pretty much like even growing up, I think eventually most people ended up falling into one camp or another. You're either a Marvel person or a DC person. So DC have your Supermans, your Batmans, your Wonder Womans, your Aquamans. Marvel have your Spider-Mans, your Fantastic Fours, your X-Men, all that sort of stuff. And
I think the difference between them in the comics, from what I was thinking, is whereas DC was more concentrated on the superhero stuff, the Marvel included a lot of like melodrama stuff, like
the human
Spider-Man
stuff
with all the more the human story, whereas DC was just the action.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think essentially the way you looked at, if you looked at it, Marvel, you could always identify with the characters in Marvel. You could find a character in a Marvel comic that you could identify with. With DC, it was a lot harder. It was either this guy is a billionaire who dresses as a bat, hard to identify with. This guy is an alien superhero god, hard to identify with. And so it's like so Marvel started off the Marvel Cinematic Universe. DC realized, oh my god, we got left behind. And so DC decided to try and catch up and try and make their own extended universe. Their approaches were a little bit different. Marvel decided to have one guy who was behind it called Kevin Feige, who pretty much decided this is what we're going to do with the whole thing. DC decided we're going to give individual filmmakers different properties and see what they do with it. They gave Zack Snyder Superman. And he made a film called Man of Steel. And so Man of Steel was the first Superman movie that we'd had in ages. Zack Snyder had it. It was a bit controversial. I still maintain it's half an excellent film. The second half of the film lets it down massively. That was the general consensus. So they go, oh, okay, cool, that happened. Oh, that wasn't really the launch. And instead of doing a Superman sequel, they decided to go back and do Batman versus Superman, a film that Sean and I have had. Yes. Oh dear, indeed.
Dear,
they Batman versus Superman is that Farrago? Is that a word? A Farrago?
Yes.
Yep.
Is that that's what just came to my head, but it's a mess. And so they rushed forward with, after they'd had I think over the space of probably about 4 years, they decided we're going to do Superman, Batman vs Superman, then we're going to do Justice League, which is the big thing where we're going to bring everybody together. While they were and so Zack Snyder's still in charge, even though by this time there's beginning to be rumblings that they think many people think Zack Snyder might not be the right person to be in charge of this thing, because there are certain stylistic choices that have been made in Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, that make you think this guy might not be the right person to be at the helm. But he still is. He's going to do Justice League. So halfway through Justice League, the studio gets involved. They bring Joss Whedon on board because apparently Joss Whedon is going to work with the studio to do some other films. And there's this weird thing that you have where you have Zack Snyder making the film while Joss Whedon, who has directed The Avengers, which was pretty much the film that kind of consolidated this whole idea of a superhero universe for DC's big rival, Marvel. You have him hanging around in the background behind Zack Snyder. What the hell's going on here? Zack Snyder eventually leaves Justice League through its post-production because his daughter committed suicide. And so his daughter committed suicide, so he leaves it for compassionate leave. He says the film's pretty much done, and then the studio line is, don't worry, Joss Whedon is just here to just tighten up and finish off what Zack Snyder does. The next thing you hear is that Joss Whedon has called for a whole bunch of reshoots because he's not happy with what Zack Snyder has done. And so he brings everybody back in. They film a whole bunch of other stuff. They bring Henry Cavill back, who by this time is working on the set of Mission Impossible, whatever the last one was called, Fallout. Yeah, I think.
something.
Yeah,
Was
I
this the
think
whole moustache thing?
exactly. He has grown a big, massive mustache for that film. They say he can't shave the mustache off, so they bring him back for reshoots of Superman. Last time we checked, Superman doesn't have a big, massive, bushy mustache, so they CGI his mustache off. They put that film into cinemas, and essentially, my review of Justice League was pretty much meh. It was just there. I mean, it was not as bad as Batman versus Superman, but there was nothing really to write home about the film. The film was just,
No.
it's very, very unmemorable. It is so by the numbers. It's just very, very unmemorable. And for me, it just made me think you guys have failed because your approach is not working. You're trying to do way too much, way too quickly. It's not working. So, but almost immediately after that happens, there's a whole bunch of people because Zack Snyder has his fans, and his fans love him from 300, from Watchmen. And so they start going, oh, this is crap. And the reason this is crap is because it isn't the Snyder cut. You guys don't have the Snyder cut. And so, pretty much from when Justice League was released in 2017, the hashtag starts trending on Twitter. Hashtag release the Snyder cut, release the Snyder cut, release the Snyder cut. And there's this big, massive fan campaign that sometimes gets quite ugly. It sometimes gets quite ugly, like people receiving death threats for not releasing the Snyder cut and all that. Sometime last year, the actual stars of the film start hashtagging, using the hashtag release the Snyder cut, release the Snyder cut. And next thing you know, we're in a lockdown. Warner Brothers is launching HBO Max, and they go, yeah, guess what, guys? The Snyder cut does exist. We are going to release the Snyder cut, and not only are we going to release it, but we're going to give Zack Snyder $70 million to finish the film off to what he wanted it to be and release it to you guys. It's going to be on HBO Max. You hear more stories like it's 4 hours long. This thing is 4 hours long. And so much so, last week we finally got it, and that is a little bit, there is so many other areas we can go down. I haven't even spoken about Justice Con. I haven't even spoken about Joss Whedon getting sued. I haven't even spoken about any of those things. There's so many things that are just coming off this that make this more than just a film. It's like an event that is, for some people, scary because it tells you like what happens, what can people on Twitter do. Essentially, some people see it as inspirational, some people see it as scary. I go more towards the scary side. So we finally have this film, Justice League. Zack Snyder's original vision has been released. I went on record on the podcast last week saying how I was not expecting it to be any good, and I was really, really trying to stop myself from reviewing the film before I'd even seen it. So I've been talking for a while. Sharon, thank you very much for humoring me. Hopefully you know a little bit more about everything that's been going on with this thing now. And Sean, now I will let you go and you tell me what you thought about Zack.
Sean.
It would be interesting.
Release the Sean.
Release the bats. No pun intended.
So Sean, what did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Oh, what do I think of Zack Snyder's? What do you? It's an interesting one. What do you think I think of it? And then I'll go off.
I've
just
seen
give you a quick one, yeah.
I've seen you talking on other people's statuses on Facebook, so I have a little bit of an insight into what you think of it.
All right, yeah.
I think I would put the general gist of it down as not impressed.
Well, it was quite funny. There's this WhatsApp group that I'm on called Game Night with Dan and a couple of others, and one come up and said, "Oh, I'm watching the Snyder cut like that," and I watched, like, I was going, "Oh, right, so yeah, what do you think?" It was. I'll have a look later anyway. I'll read some ones when someone else is talking. But okay, So this film, I started to watch. I watched it a few times actually, believe it or not, just purely for the fact that I wanted to, because having Sky and it being like it on every. You can just see it 24 hours. It's just constantly running.
Sky Cinema pretty much have a channel that's dedicated to only showing the Zack Snyder cut.
So, and then I watched some scenes that I wasn't happy with, and I watched them again. And then, so basically, the first time I watched it, first half of the film, I was huffing and puffing like I do and crossing my legs and going, "Oh my God." I mean, I know Zack Snyder likes his slow-mo.
He does. He loves his slow-mo.
He loves his slow-mo.
For goodness sake.
I don't mind too much slow-mo because I like Sam Peckinpah, obviously, with the film in the background. But his was always when it was necessary. And I think the first half, especially the beginning scene with the and
Oh
there's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. The first scene that the film starts off
yeah,
with.
yeah, and there's
Yeah.
this one bit where there's like this Amazon, and it's just like, come on, come on, come
Get on
on,
with
hurry up.
it.
And it's just pointless, and it's just pointless. I mean, I can understand if like when people are getting their heads lopped off or something like that, but that was just senseless. And then there was the little backstory with Cyborg with the football
Yep.
game, which was,
Yep.
and I was like, oh, so another huffy thing. So yeah, the first half, I was like,
So actually, I've got a question. So it's 4 hours long. Did you watch
yeah.
the entire film in one sitting?
I will be totally honest with you. No, I didn't. No, I
Okay,
didn't
cool. All right.
because I mean we're talking. It was a late one on. It was the first night it was on, and it wouldn't have finished till about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I
Yeah,
had work
yeah.
the next day. So I thought, well, and so I was like pretty disappointed. I've got some. I should read some of these. I was going blooming slow mo. I hate that. What is it? What do I put here? Right. Oh, actually, Corey. This is one of them. He goes because I was moaning about Corey. I was saying, and basically it says, oh, Cyborg actually seemed like a bit of a douchebag. So, I mean, and yeah, we didn't like that one. Aquaman didn't get much.
Well,
What? So,
it's
some people like this is another one. Sorry, Affleck is a good Bruce Wayne. Flash and Cyborg pretty much were the story. These are all people I was talking about, but I started off with, I said, I like moaning like hell, and he goes, "Oh, I don't have a problem with Snyder's material and what he's willing." So I can't really look now. I should have prepared this before, but I'll get back to it.
Okay. So you said the first half of the film issues.
First half of the film, yeah.
Yeah. Then what about the second? Yeah. So what happened with the second act when you
and then
came
so
back
I watched I watched the whole thing again the next day, and again I was trying to be a little bit more forgiving, so I did enjoy the first half. And then the second half, when it came into the second half, I was like, I warmed to it a little bit. I warmed a little bit to it. So I was like, well, okay, this is getting better. This is going somewhere. This is going better. Still wasn't megally impressed. So I watched it again.
Yep.
And because I could. And I thought, okay. And the second half, still got a few issues with it. But the second half, I decided.
So by now you've given 8 hours of your life to watching the Snyder Cut. Yeah,
and that's it because the issues that I had, the first half didn't like the first half at all. The first half really. The second half I enjoyed a lot more, and on the second watching I actually watched the scene again because like we talk about consistency in movies.
Yeah.
When we talk, but there's one bit in that final flight where Aquaman actually does something, and I'm like, why didn't he do that at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Or when they first met, with Steppenwolf, I'm like, well, that's stupid because they would have done that straight away. A bit like the Vision in I thought, where's the consistency? But on the second watching, I could see, so I was like, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Now, yeah, I can. That's fine because a certain thing happened with what Supes were doing, and what I really liked about it is, there was a good payoff. It was a really nice payoff, and there was a few bits cut out, like the family, which I didn't like in the original cut anyway.
The what?
There was in the Whedon one, there was a Russian family, wasn't there? That was.
Oh yes. The bit
remember that? Well, that's not in this. That's
Slash has to go save them. Yeah, Slash has to go.
So he has to go and save them. That's totally gone, which was fine by me. And it was a good payoff, and you could understand why Earth had been at the end of the movie. You could understand why Earth had been left alone by other things because of So yeah. Okay. It was a nice payoff.
Oh, all right. So in the end of the, there was a lot of talk about how, it's a totally different film. What do you think about that?
It is. I guess it is a totally different thing because, to be honest, I can't really remember much from the original cut.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that's sort of gone. That's like wiped away. So this cut. I mean, the format. because it was formatted when it was like
Yeah. For some reason, they've made this into a 4:3 ratio. So for those of you who might not know what that is, essentially, if you think about widescreen TV and then think of an old-fashioned TV, the CRT TVs that you had in the 80s, he's made it so that it's like that. Essentially, if you're watching this film on an iPad, fine, it will fill the entire screen. If you're watching this film on a TV, you will have black bars down the side. And he's done it for that for some reason. I do not understand why. Sean, what do you think of that?
I think the reason is because that intrigued me, and apparently that's for like IMAX, because that's the format that IMAX uses. So when cinemas are allowed back in, and I suppose they're hoping for a whole people go to the IMAX cinema to see it, because that's the reason it was that format. Apparently, that's the story. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So in the end, how would you rate it? How many stars would you give the Zack Snyder version of Justice League?
Well, it's a film with two halves, so I'd give the first half. I'd probably give it, actually, on the whole, I'd probably give it a 3. I think.
Okay.
I'd probably give it a 3. I would, taking the whole film as a whole, with the few issues that I had and few bits that I didn't like too much, I'd probably give it a 3-star.
All right, cool. Now I'm gonna wind myself up and go. But before I do that, Sharon, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions as someone who hasn't seen it yet, as someone who didn't see the original, as to what on earth this whole nonsense is about?
My only sort of thought was, with the Marvel universe, we've got used to the fact that all the films interact, and that they tend to. There's events in one film that directly influence the sequence of events in every subsequent film and subsequent television series and all the different incarnations.
Yes.
So has Justice League the same relevance? Because I've seen Aquaman and I've seen the first Wonder Woman film, and so far they don't seem to be.
They're just disparate,
They're just like loose threads. But I mean, is the idea that there will become like this interconnectedness between the DC world?
Now this feeds directly into one of my issues, because I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to do this whole interconnected universe, but I've said it over and over again. They were trying to run before they could walk, and so Justice League was supposed to be this launch. It was the first time you saw Aquaman. It was the first time you saw Flash. First time you saw Cyborg, and they were supposed to go off into their own little films, and that pretty much killed that idea. So.
Yeah.
So all the DC films that have come out afterwards, Shazam, Birds of Prey, Aquaman, they kind of like don't even acknowledge that any of the other films exist. They just kind of like very, very, they keep, if Suicide Squad, they just kind of do not acknowledge that the other films exist. So because I think DC are now going, we're just going to make different separate films, because that seems to be more. Essentially, they're going back a bit more to what Marvel did. Instead of trying to catch up with Marvel, we're just going to make a couple of different films and make those films fun and make those films enjoyable, and forget about a connected universe for a while. Now, my general thing about this is, I said this film is better. It is better than the one we got in 2017. There is no doubt about that. There were bits about it. There were bits when I was watching this where I even, dare I say, found myself enjoying it. I found myself enjoying myself. I think it's pretty much the same film. If you think about the big story beats in the film, that people go, oh my God, there's only 12%, the film's only 12% similar. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more than 12% in this film that there was already in the last. I have seen some of these scenes already. So the big push behind it, it's a totally different film, blah, 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 I think is nonsense. I think it's nonsense because I've seen that scene. Okay, maybe you've changed the CGI on Steppenwolf so that he doesn't look as, sickly, like something that somebody threw up now anymore. He doesn't look like that. It looks like you've actually taken more time to finish the CGI. So, okay, maybe but apart from that, that's the same scene, just with a better CGI character in it. So I don't see that as a different thing. And it brings me to something that I don't particularly like that Zack Snyder seems to do, especially in the DC universe. He makes a film. They release the film. The film, even though people might say it's a failure, it still goes ahead and it still makes about $600 million at the box office. And then he goes, oh, that wasn't actually my real vision. My real vision is this. And then he releases a director's cut that has 30 extra minutes in it, puts it out there, and the same people who've already paid to see the first film now go again and pay again to see the second film, which really gets up my nose. I'm like, no, that for me is just really, really cynical. It's kind of like getting paid twice for the same work. And he did the same thing with Batman vs Superman. That film got derided in the cinema, and people went here and was like, oh, well, actually, there's another 30 minutes that makes this film make sense. Then why didn't you put that in there in the first place and make the film make sense in the first place? And so in this film, there's an extra 4 hours. Like Sean said, there's over an hour in the film before you even see the Flash. And the Flash, the first scene that the Flash is in, is pointless. It makes no difference to the story. It's just there that there's a whole bunch of slow motion. And with the Flash, okay, slow motion kind of makes sense with the Flash because obviously he's quick and all that. But even though that it was going on so long, I mean, why are you spending so long focusing on a hot dog? What? And so the film has, and the extra running time, because there were some things that got cut out of the other one. The extra running time, it serves some characters and it detracts from some characters. It serves Cyborg. Cyborg has more of a story now. And in the first film, I complained about the fact that it seemed that anytime they had a problem, oh, we need to do this thing with the mother boxes. Oh, just throw Cyborg at it. Oh, we need to do it. Oh, just throw Cyborg at it. Oh, Cyborg. And he was just kind of like this story thing of he was like a doohickey to just get themselves out of scrapes in the first film. They've done a better job with Cyborg in this film. Even though I still think like the mother boxes, okay, so in Marvel you had the Infinity Stones, but I think they did a much better job in that film of explaining what the heck these stones are and why these stones, like essentially every stone in the Infinity thing has a personality. But with the mother boxes, why are there 3 of them? There's no explanation for that. Why do they have to come together to form the Unity? Because reasons. So I still think it's bad storytelling. There's things but a character that I feel is really, really not served by the longer running time is Wonder Woman. Every single line that Wonder Woman says in this film is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. Because Sean, I mean,
you liar. You liar. So sorry, that was not saying you are Toes. That was one. Supposed to be.
It's supposed to be a quote from the film. So, and I think one of the best things about this film is the number of people who are watching it and having WhatsApp conversations about it as they're watching it. Because the way you've been having I've been having WhatsApp conversations with my brother, with one of my friends, Wiley, who's come on here, with superfan Nina. She has been trying to watch it for 3 days. She hasn't finished it. It's so long. I've got a life. I've got to get on with things. And she's just going, why is this there? Why is that there? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say Martian Manhunter shows up in this film.
Post credits, yeah.
But not even before that. He shows up
before that. Okay, yeah. I understand what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, that scene he shows up in, no sense. Makes no sense. Why would you do that? Why would you go there? So they've added a lot of extra stuff in it. It does flesh out the story more. It does make like things like the final fight. Sean was talking about the final fight. It makes it make more sense. But it makes it make more sense. But there's still these tonal things. And for me, I don't think Zack Snyder I still maintain he does not understand these characters, because there's a point in the final fight where in quick succession, in about a 2-minute period, Superman, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman all do things that if Deadpool did them in a film, you would go, oh my God, that's a bit much. And these are supposed to be like characters that are all like, light and such, and they do these things that you think, oh my God, that is brutal. Why? That is so brutal. Which makes he does not really get these characters. So in the end, I think that the film works. It is definitely better than the Justice League we got in 2017. Is not earth-shattering, and the fact, and my big thing is that it almost, I'm watching it and I'm going, hang on a second, this is actually good. I'm kind of enjoying this, but it's almost like a magic trick. It's kind of like somebody is trying to convince you that, like, a burger is caviar, But then as long as you keep looking at the burger, you might think it's caviar. But once you actually take your eyes up and look at, you go, oh no, this is a burger and a bad one at that. Because the problem with the DCEU is, if you have to make a 4-hour film to provide enough background to make these characters seem like there's something, and you need the 4 hours to actually do that, then I'm sorry, you've got a problem. Why do you need a 4-hour film to make anybody care? Because you've messed up your entire, I'm sorry to keep harping on about Marvel, but because when you look at Marvel, when Marvel did it, they essentially said, we're going to take a film, and we're going to take a film to establish this character, establish some things. So they said, we're going to take 3-4 films before we try and bring everybody together. So that when we bring everybody together, there's a whole bunch of stuff we don't have to explain. Justice League there's some characters you do not see at all until Justice League starts, and they're trying to establish them, show you what their motivation is, blah blah blah, and then show you why they join up with the team, and so you need 4 hours to do all that. And I think that shows you that the whole DCEU thing was messed up, and that I think I put as Zack Snyder's door. The fact that he puts this thing in chapters, I think it would have been better as a TV series than trying to make it a film. There's an epilogue that is stupid. There's an epilogue at the end of the film that is just kind of like, what is wrong with you? So I would agree with you, Sean. It's a 3 out of 5 at best. It is pretty much the same film. Pretty much the same film. And,
the story with the mother boxes. There was Jack Kirby did a comic series called The Fourth World, and that's where Darkseid comes from. And and there was like the New Gods and the Forever People, and they were. So Darkseid is well, I guess he's DC's version of Thanos, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
So yeah, basically he's the same as Thanos. So, but in the first fight with all the old heroes coming in the first fight, I was like, oh no, you spoiled him. He doesn't look like that. In the bit in the end scene where he's sort of, it's been a few years down the line. But I did think, as I say, you could understand. As I say, the one bit I think when I first saw it, the bit, and hopefully this isn't too much spoiler, but that Aquaman, and his good old trident, and in the final scene, it's like, well, why didn't you do that in the first? Why didn't you do that straight away before the?
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean? Before, right at the very, very, very beginning of the film, when you first meet him, why couldn't you do that then? And then having rewatched, that's why I rewatched it, and then having it did make sense. So
he didn't have the trident yet.
So I was like, okay, I can see why that happens. And yeah, Superman. To be honest, Superman was pretty badass when he really. Okay. He was. That's what you wanted. That's how you wanted. I quite liked Man of Steel. I know a lot of people had issues with the fight at the end, but I thought Man of Steel was a really good film. I rated that really, really highly because I really like that, and that's like so. Yeah, so that was a nice payoff for me. I did like Supes in that, and as I say, that's what makes you understand why Earth had been left alone by all these other beings, and to me that was a nice payoff, which is. But on the whole, as I agree with you on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, can I ask a spoil? I know, but can I ask a spoilery question?
Yes, ask spoilery questions. So if anybody's listening, we're waiting. Yes, go ahead.
But Superman got killed or something at the end of Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
Is there an explanation as to how he comes back or what happened to him to why he wasn't really dead? He was like dead.
There is there is an explanation, but it is very kind of like, how I say, oh, this happens because reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, how I say this happens because reasons. There is an explanation to why Superman comes back, but the explanation to why Superman comes back is it's kind of like, reasons. And the problem I had with killing Superman off is when Superman died in the comics, that was a big deal. It was a massive deal. And in the films, they had not established Superman enough for it to be a big deal.
For it to really matter.
Yeah, for it to really matter. It's like, no, I don't get. It's like in Avengers, you have minor characters who die, and you're like, oh my god, that's the thing. Superman is the biggest superhero in the world. When he dies, it should be a big deal.
Yeah, and when I watched that though, I thought, I don't believe he's really dead forever.
Exactly.
It didn't feel like it was a death. It felt like it was a plot device to create a bit of tension.
it felt like I mean, the thing is that he's going to come back. Everybody knows he's going to come back. So why even bother killing him? There was just no sense to it. There was no sense to it, and it's so
it's one of those things. It's because having not had any desire. I know there's like the whole fear of missing out, but I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by not having seen Justice League. I haven't seen it for nearly 4 years, and I feel like I don't feel like I've missed out by not seeing it now.
Well, I mean, the first Justice League, to be honest with you, but there's friends of mine who are fans, and they say, "Oh, I haven't seen Justice League. Should I?" And quite frankly, I told them don't bother. I told them don't bother because it's not like Batman versus Superman, which at least made you annoyed. Like that, like Sean and I have gone on. Batman versus Superman made our blood boil. It's not like that. It was just so there, and it was just so inoffensive, and it was just whatever. Yeah. So I wouldn't bother watching it. But I think it is. Yeah, there's these decisions, like killing Superman, bringing Doomsday into it. I'm like, in the Batman vs Superman, who is the bad guy? Why the heck are you going to kill him when you're just going to bring him back? I mean, all this. I mean, and you try and Sean, you were talking about it like Darkseid. You can understand that if Superman's around, that's the reason why nobody would try and come and invade Earth. No.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I understand that they try and put that as a reason why. It's like, oh, Earth is now vulnerable, Superman's dead, therefore we can bring all this stuff in. But it just seems like, okay, we need to get to Justice League, and we need to find an excuse. Not something that sort of like naturally fits the story. We need to find an excuse to make Justice League happen. And someone's like, oh, but if Superman's dead, it's so, yeah. And also, I mean, I'm not even bothering about spoilers with this. So when Superman comes back, there's a whole thing where they put Superman in a black costume for no reason. for no reason whatsoever. And people talk about it like, oh, that's the iconic Superman black costume. I'm like, it's not iconic. Superman, when you think Superman, you do not think black. You think red, blue, yellow. You think underpants on the outside of your tights. So the only reason that I can see that they put Superman in a black outfit is because there was a certain section of the internet that was yelling and screaming and baying for Superman to be in a black outfit, for the only reason that because they think, oh yeah, I wear black and black is cool. And but I'm sorry, from a storytelling perspective, it's rubbish.
I mean, again, I know we keep going back to Marvel ones where they're being so good, but I think where Marvel have got it is they put enough in their movies to please all fans, whether even if you're not a comic fan, you can enjoy the film. But they put enough in there to keep the fans of the comics.
They acknowledge
that they've changed the story because, I mean, for instance, in WandaVision, in the Halloween episode,
yes,
you know what I mean, it was just like
yeah.
That was just like people just, that's just like, oh, great, and that's the sort of thing they do. Whereas, I mean, to me, the Flash in the Justice League is not the Flash, because the Barry Allen that I used to read in the comics was he was a lawyer. He was quite knowledgeable, and that's what he was. Whereas in this, he's like,
they've turned him into a kid. They've turned him into essentially they've turned him into sort of Spider-Man.
Yeah. So, and but it's interesting. We're back to the Darkseid thing with the new gods, with like Desard, who was like his little sidekick.
Yep.
I did notice there's which I'm sure is maybe if they do another one, but when they leave Earth and they turn around, there's a lady that sort of Darkseid takes off. You got Desard behind him, and then you've got an old lady. Well, in the comics, there's this really, really nasty old new god called Granny Goodness.
Oh yeah.
Now, Granny Goodness is not what you think. Granny Goodness is horrible, and she's got these peaks. So I wondered if that might be her, and she's got like the things called the Furies. So I reckon, I think they could, if they did it right, they could go into that fourth world thing, and I think they probably.
Well, they are planning to make a New Gods film.
Are they going to make a New Gods film?
Yeah, they're going to make a New Gods film. Yeah,
wow.
It's being directed by Ava DuVernay, who did Selma.
Okay. Well, I hope they don't. I hope they don't. This is your chance, DC. This is your chance. You can actually redeem yourselves. You can come up with something that's really, really good. You know. So if they're doing the New Gods, Orion fights for Earth. I remember that. I had that be worth a fortune. Now I had that comic when it first came out, the #1, the New Gods. Orion fights for Earth.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as long as they come up, I think as long as they take their time and they actually have like a vision, because I feel like Marvel, they care first and foremost about telling the story.
Yes.
And they think, how do we engineer this story to make money? I think DC at the moment, the film version is, how do we make money?
Yeah.
And it's like, what about the story? Well, we don't care. What do people want to see? We'll give them what they want to see. Okay, you want some money in a black costume? We'll give you some money in a black costume. Yeah, you want the Snyder? Okay, we'll give you this. Okay, how about and that's what messed the whole thing up because as much as I do not agree with Zack Snyder's vision for these characters, for you were talking about the Flash, for the fact that Superman becomes Deadpool, essentially, as much as I don't agree with that, if they had at least stuck with that vision, they would have come up with something a bit more consistent. But because they were thinking, oh, people said they didn't like Man of Steel, people said they didn't like Batman and Superman, so we got to change it, we're going to put some jokes in there, and they messed it up. And then now they're putting this, so anyway, the whole thing is a mess. For some people, they see it as a triumph that this film exists. And for me,
I'm intrigued by this New Gods movie. I'm intrigued now.
We've sent Shaun off.
Sent me off, so I'm going to have to do some research now on this. But I mean, because I quite like that. I quite like the concept. So I mean, you can have Light Ray, Orion. There's loads of characters you can have. As I say, the Granny Goodness and the Harpies and Mantis and all sorts of new characters. And I reckon it might actually either flop or do really, really well.
Well, that is as long if they take their time to build the world.
Yes, exactly, really well. And they could do that. Well, 2 worlds: New Genesis and Apocalypse.
Yeah, if they take the time to build the world, and I think with Ava DuVernay, we know she can do that. But we also know that she did A Wrinkle in Time, and A Wrinkle in Time had a similar thing where it was trying to build this whole world, and I think tried to do too much too quick.
Cool.
And so if the Selma, because she directed Selma. Good
film, I like that.
Yeah, if Selma Ava DuVernay shows up, good. If A Wrinkle in Time Ava DuVernay shows up, maybe not so good. But anyway, so Sharon, you have sat down there and you have listened to us prattle on about
Sharon.
DC and
Thanks,
Marvel
mate.
and all that. So we we want to end this show. I'm not going to bring any other films. I think, Sean, we should let Sharon talk about something that she has seen this week.
Yes, for sure.
And then,
it can wait.
and then we can finish off the show. Because Sean asked for what we thought his top 10 films were from the last decade, from the 2010s. Well, for Sean, that's what he thought his last films were from the 2010s. And I can tell you, Justice League is not on them.
Yeah.
It's like, either version of Justice League, all combined 6 hours of both versions of Justice League are not on Sean's list. I am willing to put money on that. So Sean, I went down and I had a list through some lists of like in the top 5. So Sharon, you're happy for your films to wait for next week?
Yes.
Okay.
I've only got one film that can wait.
Okay, cool. We'll keep that till next week, and in the meantime, let me put it this way: I think Justice League is going to come back at some point because I think next week, Sean, you go troll through some of your WhatsApp messages and come up with some of the things that have been said.
Yeah, I will.
I'll troll through some of my WhatsApp messages and come with some of the things that have been said about it. A lot of them have to go with, "Oh my god, this is long. Oh my god, this is long. Why is this so long?" Like, a lot of them come up with that. I'll troll with them, and I'll come up with with those as well. But Sharon, I have a list of, I think, about 10 films that I've put on here. There's one that I have as an outside chance that I think Sean might have on his list. But Sharon, do you want to go through? Shall we alternate? You say one, then I say one.
We'll alternate, yeah. I'll start with Fury.
Yeah, that's number 3 on my list.
Oh my god, Fury was in the last decade? I didn't have that. All right, cool. I've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well done. Yep, you got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's at number 9.
Okay, cool. Sharon.
Baby Driver.
Yeah, that's at number 2.
Good lord, all things are really, really obvious. Why didn't I have these on my list? Okay, now this one is a little bit of a niche film because I think it's a Western, and I think that you might like that. It's called Meek's Cutoff.
No, that's not there.
Okay, cool. All right, Sharon.
Leave No Trace.
Yes, well done.
Okay,
That's my
Sharon.
number 5.
Sharon, if
Sharon's,
this was
Sharon's ace in this, isn't she?
Sharon, if this was a game, you've won. Let's see. I have Selma.
Selma, no, that's not on there. Good film though. It would be up with the top 20, I expect.
Okay, cool. Sharon.
Now I'm coming to the more random ones. I think Hell or High Water.
Oh, that's so good. Didn't quite make it in there, but
Okay.
that's a great film. That would probably be number 11.
I had that on my list as well, so
Yeah.
I don't really. Okay, so
I think we spoke about one earlier, Tosin, that I've seen and you haven't seen. And we were talking at the very, very beginning about some of the things, and I asked you if you saw it, and you said it was on your list and you didn't see it.
Oh yeah, 71.
71, yes.
Was that 2010s?
Yes, that was number 4.
What year was that released?
You better have a look.
Oh, good lord! I think I thought that was beforehand. All right, cool. Anyway, sorry, Sharon, go ahead. I'm going to look for 71.
I think you might.
Oh, yeah, 2014.
I think you might. Yeah, I think you might struggle with the others.
Okay.
But it's worth a go. I tell you, there is.
Okay, no, I've got Parasite.
Parasite. No, that's not there.
All right.
I probably would be thinking about it, but it's not.
All right, Sharon. You want to run through the rest of the films you have, and we'll see if any of them hit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The last. Oh, I can. It's easy to name the ones but not be on the list somewhere.
All right.
There was one. I just can't think of the title of it. I know what it was about.
There's 2 more with Brad Pitt in.
Oh, Ad Astra.
No.
No, what do we know?
One you might know. It's a sporty one.
Moneyball.
Moneyball. There you go. That's my number 8.
You love Moneyball.
I love Moneyball.
Another Brad Pitt film in the last.
Oh, not Inglourious.
Inglourious.
That wasn't
Inglourious
2010.
Basterds.
Yeah, no. That's funny enough. If I did my top Tarantino movies, because we were talking about that earlier, that would probably be down the bottom. Yeah. There's only 2 scenes in that which I like. That's the beginning scene and the one in the bar with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
With the 3.
You got it. So yeah.
Okay.
And the other one is this was a film. It was. I don't think many people would have seen it. It was one of those ones I caught of a late evening once, and I went and had a look. But it's a Brad Pitt film, and it really stuck with me quite.
World War Z.
No, not World War Z. Okay. It's actually a film called. I don't think you'll get this one. I'm sure you won't get that. It's a film called.
No!
It's not The General.
Killing Them Softly.
Yes, Toes. Yes, well done. How did you get that one? That was good.
When you said you caught it late at night, it's a film called, and I was like, wait, and I just got a picture in my head of Brad Smith going, "I like to kill him softly," and I was like, oh no, yeah, that sounds like a total type of short film. Okay, I'll
well
run through.
Well done. That's class. So you've got 2 more then.
Okay, I'll run through the rest.
You've got to try and get the number 1, and I'll give you a clue. The other one is one out of the Star Wars franchise.
Oh, Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the only one that you like.
Yeah, that's released in the well done. 10 years. Yeah. And so what would be the top one then?
Oh,
what's the top one?
The top film from the last decade.
I think this counts. I'm pretty sure this. Yeah, it's got to, yes. Yeah, so it's a recent film.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of recent films. I know that you've mentioned and going, I think I love this. Oh, Joker.
Oh, yeah, that is my number 1.
Right.
Come on.
That's my number 1. Sorry, guys. When that's on Sky a lot, and I just watch it, and especially the end scene. Those people there. I just love that movie. It's just a great movie.
Okay, I'll tell you some of the other films that I had on my list.
Yeah, go for it.
The one that I thought was probably most likely to be on the list was Mad Max Fury Road.
Yep, love that. That's a good one. That would have been there.
Mad Max Fury Road. I had Winter's Bone. I'm not sure whether they ever saw that.
I never saw that. I don't think I did.
But I thought that because essentially I should have taken Winter's Bone out and put in Leave No Trace. because it's kind of
Winter's
like
Bone. Yeah. Winter's Bone. Actually, is that a western?
No,
it's
Jennifer
not.
Lawrence. It's Appalachians, isn't it?
Yeah, Appalachians. Yeah.
No,
But
right.
it's kind of like similar to Leave No Trace in that like people are a bit
Yeah,
off
yeah,
the
yeah,
grid
yeah,
and all
yeah,
that, and it's a
Yeah,
bit
they
sort of
live
like
off grid.
yeah. I had Grand Budapest Hotel,
yeah. That's a good shout.
Yeah, I like
Good
that
shout.
and now this one was a film that not many people saw, but I thought that if anybody would have seen it, it would have been you, and if you'd seen it, I thought you would have liked it. Was First Reformed, a film with Ethan Hawke where he plays a priest.
I haven't seen that film.
I haven't
Okay.
seen that one.
I've not seen that.
All right, and then
But
my outside shots were 12 Years a Slave and Get Out.
Get Out was good. Both two good films. Both
Yeah.
both good films. Yeah. Sharon,
All right.
did you have any others that you might thought? You got most of them. You got the.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got most of
Sharon
them.
got most of them. Probably because she saw most of them with you in the cinema or something.
I
Yeah.
think some of them I did see. I was thinking about some of that, the sort of those off-piste westerns like Salvation or
Hostiles came close. Hostiles
Yeah,
came
because I did
really,
think
really
Hostiles
close.
and Salvation that we saw.
Salvation, we liked that, didn't we?
With, both like that one with Mads Mikkelsen in. So I was thinking of those as outside runners, but I thought they might be one of those sort of like modern westerns might have just crept in. But yeah, Hostiles, I remember we both thought that was. Though you weren't keen on the ending, were you? So much. I liked
Not
it.
so much.
You weren't quite keen on the ending.
I can't remember the ending,
out.
but I just remember loving Hostiles and thinking Hostiles was a brilliant, beautiful, brutal film.
Yeah. It's a good
But
film.
but anyway, I mean, we've spoken about Hostiles and that. All right. Anyway, welcome to what has turned into Tosin rants about Justice League and DC, and about how they don't know what they're doing. But yes, okay. May I say one final thing?
You can.
It might not be the final thing. I'll put the caveat, but one more thing about it. And I think because, as I said, the circumstances in which this film has come about is probably even more interesting than the film itself.
Yeah, it's like a real soap opera.
It's a total soap opera that people are beginning to ask questions as to, is this going to change the way what films get made? So essentially, if enough people complain on Twitter and threaten studio heads on Twitter, and they can show that there is a market for it, will that mean that they will now start making the film and they'll start doing exactly what happens? One of my friends, he pointed out that that's essentially what happened with the Star Wars film. So you had The Last Jedi, where, love it or hate it, and I know Sean hates it, I quite like it, it's like, it was doing something different. And they could have carried on with that. But when they went and they made The Rise of Skywalker, essentially you could almost go to a whole bunch of internet message boards and you could see everything that people had demanded to see in the film that they just put in the film. And they just went, instead of keeping with a vision of something that had been done, they just sort of like had no strength in their own convictions. They just went back and said, let's give you what you want because hopefully that will make more money. And so the story about it, and I think the fact that I don't think this film we wouldn't be seeing this film if it wasn't for the fact that Warner Brothers have their own streaming service in the States, HBO Max, which they are trying to get up the ground, a bit like Disney with Disney Plus. Disney have done it, they've nailed it, they've put their Marvel stuff on there, they've done WandaVision, they are going great guns, they are on track to overtake Netflix as the number one streaming platform. Disney have nailed it. And Warner's, the same way as they botched this DCEU, they're like, okay, we're trying to do HBO Max. And I think the only reason that this film is being released now is because they have HBO Max. They need something that's going to make everybody start talking about HBO Max.
Yeah.
And this film has done that.
Yes.
So it is almost kind of like, I think in the future it's going to be studied as a marketing exercise. It's going to be studied as a marketing exercise and or more than it's going to be studied about for any artistic merit.
Yeah. I think, as I say, I do occasionally sort of have a look at Netflix, but I think Netflix has sort of lost its way a little bit, to be honest. There's nothing really that to appeal. I mean, I can understand how Disney Plus might be taking them over because they're promoting their stuff and they are making good quality stuff and they're keeping people interested. Whereas Netflix just seemed to be like, okay, there's some movies on there we've made. They're not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know what they've got, but certainly.
Well, I think you get there's almost like a sort of a fatigue, isn't it? Because when you think Netflix has been around for quite a long time, and I think they maybe have sort of rested on their laurels for a little bit because they didn't really have any competitors until Disney Plus. They just, because Amazon Prime is there, but it's never really been a big hitter as far as the streaming cloud. Like every now and then, like the boys will come along and be like, yeah, you got to watch this, but they've never really been a big hitter in terms of dominating the market, whereas Netflix has more or less had the field to themselves. So
I'll tell you though, if we look over the last year, I think Netflix are beginning to go into a groove where they might still make films, but for Netflix, the films are not the main thing. I think the TV shows, and more especially the documentaries, because the tagline on a poster or before a film saying a Netflix documentary or a Netflix documentary series is beginning to mean something. It's beginning to mean like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. I need to go check this out, because they are on the I watched.
They often hit the top 10s, don't they? When you get I get sent an email with this is the top 10 in the UK this week, and a lot of them are the documentary series.
Yeah, because I did I watched one called Operation Varsity Blues. That was all
about the college scandal thing.
Yeah, it's about the college scandal, about the rich sort of parents paying for their children or finding out some clandestine ways to get their children into the top sort of Ivy League schools in America. And totally fascinating. The way they did it, everything like that. So I think Netflix are beginning to find their niche, because they know that there's some things that Disney are going to be able to bring out that they cannot compete with. So they're finding their own niche.
In that film, The Blind Side, there's that they quiz the parents because they pick the University of Ole Miss, and they actually the NCAA national they investigate and they say, were you adopted because you wanted to go to, because they wanted you to go because they contribute to Ole Miss, your teacher went to Ole Miss, you do this, and they're saying so. I mean, I'm sure it does happen because money talks, doesn't it? Really?
Oh, yeah, it does. But I mean, if the way the lens to which I think it's actually quite funny, because the way they do the documentary, it's done almost kind of like a thriller or
a docudrama.
But you know the way, and I'm not saying it's like Moneyball whatsoever, Sean. So I don't want you to go watch it and then be really, really annoyed and go, "What? This is nothing like Moneyball." But you know the way Moneyball goes into the detail of what they do. And it goes into the detail of what they do, and it makes the detail fascinating. That's a similar trick to what they pull in this documentary. Is like the detail of how they actually go into it.
No, there has been some good documentaries on there, I think, and they do a few docudramas as well. Was Barbarians Netflix, or was that just?
That was Netflix, but
Barbarians is Netflix.
Yeah. So,
I think that they're finding their niche, but let me put it this way: they're not gonna be short of you, Bob.
No.
They're not going to be.
We don't have to feel sorry for them.
I think so. You think they might slip back on, instead of paying famous directors shed loads of money to make movies?
I don't think they will, to be honest with you, because the truth is, Disney still isn't going to do that. I can't imagine a Disney Martin Scorsese film.
No.
I can't imagine a Disney David Fincher film.
No.
So I mean, because I still have to watch Mank, because that's the David Fincher movie that everybody's talking about that is probably going to hit at the Oscars, which are happening at some point. I don't even know. I'm totally.
They're normally February, aren't they? So they're late if they are going to happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they haven't happened yet. But
no, they haven't happened yet.
But I've been seeing things about Oscar nominations. They have nominated films to go to the Oscars, and Mank is leading the way with a whole bunch of things. And there's Nomadland and a film called Minari.
No Man Land. I want to see that.
Yeah. So I feel like those sort of films are still more likely to show up on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Or Netflix or Amazon are going to give the money for those films to be made than Disney Plus is. So it's Disney Plus would be a big, massive money making machine that wouldn't care that much about critical stuff. So. It's going to be interesting, though. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. But the good thing is we keep hearing stuff about cinemas coming back, guys.
Yeah.
Cinemas
not long
coming
now.
back. Not long before
Especially this sounds like they've got a new deal where they've made an arrangement with, is it Warner Brothers?
They've made an arrangement with Warner Brothers.
Be exclusively shown in cinemas first.
Yes.
Before they dish them out to the streaming sites.
Yes. So we're not going to get Dune on TV. We're going to get Dune on a big screen before we get to see it on TV.
Yeah.
So,
Godzilla!
Godzilla versus Kong is supposed to be the first film. I still don't know how they're going to do that. Kong is smaller than Godzilla. Come on. Kong is a lot smaller than Godzilla. But anyway, until next week, in which we can find out a little bit more about the Snyder Cut. And if you yourself have anything to say about the Snyder Cut, please do let us know, because I'm sure everybody has an opinion. It's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Find us on Twitter at Netflix vs Cinema.